Honourable members, Minister, support staff, a warm welcome to you all. This is the meeting of the Standing Committee on Agriculture, Environmental Affairs and Development Planning in the Western Cape Provincial Parliament. Today is Monday, the 28th of November, 2022, and it has just gone at 12 o'clock. We are meeting today to deliberate on vote 9 for the Department of Environmental Affairs and Development Planning in the schedule of the Western Cape Adjustment Appropriation Bill. Are we good to go? There was somebody audible as well. Honourable members, my name is Andrikus van der Westhuizen and I'm privileged to chair this standing committee. Can I ask that the members that are online also introduce themselves?
Afternoon, Chair, and all those present. My name is Brett Moran, member of this committee.
Good afternoon, Chair. My name is Kayla Murray, member of the committee.
Good afternoon, Chair. My name is Derek America, a member of the committee.
Afternoon, Chairperson and officials. My name is Sean August, member of the committee.
Thank you very much, honourable members. I believe those are all the members that are currently online. Warm welcome also to our support staff, Ms. Morris, Ms. Mshumpela, and particularly our procedural officer, Ms. Nikerk. Honourable members, I would like also just to give the Minister, if he has joined us, yes, I see he is online, an opportunity to also introduce himself. If it's fine with you, I'm going to ask that the staff from the department only introduce themselves when they take part in the deliberations and in the discussions. But can I just ask, just for the purpose of the minutes, are there any of the departmental staff that share a computer, or would our procedural officer be able to take the online list of names as a full list of those present? If there is anybody sharing, please just indicate now. Nobody? Thank you. That makes it a lot easier. Honourable Minister, over to you. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. I'm Anton Cadell, MEC for Environmental Affairs and Development Planning.
Some introductory words from you on this appropriation?
Yeah, thank you, Honourable Chairperson, and to the honourable members. The appropriation bill for the Department of Environmental Affairs and Development Planning sees the original 2022 budget from 568,586,000 rand being adjusted to 575,592,000 rand. The adjustments reflect 2.7 million for salary increases, 2.3 million for rollovers of projects, 2.2 million for revenue retention projects, and a saving of 220,000 rand due to realignment of projects in the next financial year. Chairperson, this adds up to adjustments of 7,006,000 rand. And with that, I will hand over to my HOD and the team to take you through the details. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And a warm welcome also to you, Mr. Gerber, and also to Dr. Umar for Cape Nature. Dr. Gerber, are you going to flight your information sheet?
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, Chairperson. Good afternoon, honourable members, Minister, colleagues. I'm going to ask that our Chief Financial Officer from the department, Tapelo, flight and present and take the committee through an overview of the adjustment budget. Thank you.
Thank you, HOD. Honourable members, Chairperson. I'm going to share my screen.
Yes, we see your screen already, I believe. Now, just for the information sheet, there it is.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Honourable Chair, we were asked to be brief. when the minister was also introducing the bill, I also thought that he had briefly had done the presentation for us. Chair, the Honorable Minister mentioned that obviously our original allocation was 568 million with the increase of say 7006 to 575 in terms of the adjusted budget, Chairperson. In terms of the breakdown of the 7 billion and 6 for vote 9, Chair, it was a salary increase of 2.7 million. The colleagues from PT had us when, in terms of our accounting officer's letter, we indicated the pressures that we had in terms of the salary increases. So that was increased with the 2.7. Chairperson, the rollover of 2.312 that incorporates air quality equipments, the rollover that requested of 1.4 million, so 1.1 million, Chairperson, including 600 million for laptops that we requested for that particular rollover, Chairperson. In terms of the revenue retention, Chairperson, the revenue retention was 2.214 million. A bulk of that, which is 1.6 million, Chairperson, is for the legal fees, legal costs, Chairperson, for the Astral matter. You'll remember that we, at some point, we discussed this, is also in the financial statements, and just the 220,000 decrease for realignment of projects due to the issues of that we had with the non-responsiveness of particular bids. 1.9 of that will be spent in the new financial year, Chairperson. So in a nutshell, Chair, that's what represents our adjusted estimates. That's the summary, 575, Chair. In terms of the breakdown, as per economic classification, Chair, let me just scroll down. You will see there that the compensation of employees, Chair, increased by 4.25 to 245.96. We've already discussed the 2.7 million increase, Chair. We also reprioritized within our budget 1.7 million. So that makes up the combined 4.425, Chairperson. Goods and services decreased by 575,000 due to all those reprioritizations so that we can also fund our compensation of employees. You will see there that even the projects, we have reprioritized projects of 2.280, Chairperson, to assist with that process. Transfers and subsidies inclusive of Cape Nature, Chairperson, increased by 359, which is where we provided for the leave gratuity, Chairperson. In terms of the revenue retention, Chair, or the capital classification, increased by 2.797, revenue retention of 1.1, rollovers of 1.45, and we reprioritized also 196. That makes us the 7006, Chairperson. Chairperson. So that's the end of the presentation, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Short and sweet and to the point. Honourable members, are there any other person that would like to ask questions, that would like to get clarity on certain of these items as discussed? I do not see any hands at this point in time. Can I just ask, the one point that you've been quiet on is the delayed filling of certain posts, and I do know that in the past we've been told that the officials are overworked, and I think there were some concerns expressed during our last meeting on the annual report about the vacancy rate. Mr. Gerber, has there been any progress in that regard? If you could park that one. I do recognize the hand of the Honourable Moran as well. Honourable Moran, over to you.
Thanks, Chair. I just want to get to my thanks, Chair. I just want to get to my questions, Chair. On page 210, slower than planned. Chair, what's I just want to get to that question. Slower than planned, Chair, on page 2.10, page 210, table 9.2. Slower than planned filling of posts across programs, Chair, and we really would like to understand what they meant by that, Chair. The filling of posts, Chair, and if we calculate it's 2.351 million. What are the reasons, Chair, for the slowing in filling these posts across programs? Then, Chair, on page 217, speak to the expenditure increase by 204,000. That's program 2, environmental policy planning and coordination, Chair. Look, Chair, we as ANC, we say upfront that we respect the confidentiality in the of the contracts of employment. We do not want details of this particular case of resettlement, Chair. But please explain to us what's been meant by a resettlement, Chair, what it is. Chair, also, Chair, this resettlement, is it a norm across all provinces, across all departments within this provincial government? And Chair, what levels of employment, is it senior management, top management, basically the benefits out of these resettlements? Just would like to have an understanding of that. Then, Chair, on page 2 to 3, table 9.9, compensation of employees, Chair. We take note of the 2.7 million that's been received from national government, additional funding for compensation of employees, Chair. But if I'm not mistaken, Chair, there's a decrease in the province budget when it comes to COE, decrease of 1.591 million, Chair, that's been surrendered to the, it looks to the provincial revenue fund. Just wants to have an understanding in terms of that 1.5 million, Chair, the reasons for that. Page 2 to 4, Chair, 9.92 climate change, Chair, and we know we have spoken about climate change in the annual report meeting of agriculture. MEC Meyer have basically stressed the importance of dealing with the issue of climate change and the COP conference that was in Egypt. And here we see a decrease, Chair, of 311 million rand. Chair, and I'm really, Chair, I'm not fine with taking money from that particular program. Climate change is an important matter, and we know now that at this COP conference how difficult it was for the different delegates that attended to find each other in that conference, Chair. And lastly, Chair, the issue of the Environmental Commission, and we know it's a process basically through the Premier's office, but we also know the stance of the personal stance of the MEC. And so it's difficult for me to support any budget which does not include basically a budget to appoint the provincial the Environmental Commission. I know the response will be, but we are waiting for the Premier to finalize that particular process. But we know the personal stance of the MEC of specifically this department that in the statement issue earlier that we must put this method to bed. For this method to be put to bed, we have to respect the constitution of the provincial government, which says there must be a provincial commissioner. So that's basically it. Thanks very much. We stop there.
Thank you very much, and I recognize Honourable America.
Thank you, Chair. Chairperson, I just want further clarity, Honourable Moran, touch on it. With regard to the compensation of employees, there's a budgeted amount of 2.7 million rand, but then there's a further 1.7 million rand that is appropriated for that purpose. Is it so the question that I would like to seek further clarity to is whether the allocation for compensation for the salary increases were inadequate, that was appropriated to the department for that, and therefore additional sort of funds need to be diverted from other programs, and which were those programs from where the 1.7 million rand came from. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. In the absence of any other hands, can I ask that the members lower their hands? And then, Minister, would you like to go first?
Chair, it's fine that HOD can answer.
Thank you, HOD. And then I presume that you might be asking Mr. Museme also to assist.
Yes. Thank you for the questions, members. Chairperson, firstly, your question on the vacancy rate, and Honourable Member Maran also then touched on that on page 220, the slower than planned filling of post. It's the HR processes. It's with the Department of the Premier, the Corporate Service Centre, the shared human resource component. And yes, you know, everybody is understaffed, so the pressure is on the small teams there in order to timelessly follow the recruitment. Often the competency assessments that must be done itself take quite a bit of time, and then we're not able as a panel to conclude on the business until we've had the feedback from, in terms of those competency assessments, those psychometric testing that gets done. And then also sometimes the vetting that happens right towards the end in terms of the security vetting and checking qualifications, all of that also happens by service providers contracted in by the Department of the Premier. That in itself can take time. There were also specific processes where, because of the budget constraints, you know, we were at the time specifically looking at you know, delaying the filling of post, but then when decided to fill posts, of course, we then try and do that as fast as possible. I'm going to ask the CFO, who's also the Chief Director, Management Support, to also come in if he wants to elaborate on that. I'll just first speak to the resettlement matter, and then Tupelo maybe also wants to come in on that. It's some of it's nationally determined, but we also have provincial policy on resettlement. So this is when we appoint public servants or people that already work for an organ of state. Those are then regarded in terms of the Public Service Act and regulations as a transfer, and then because the resettlement policy then kicks in, that those people are then resettled. We don't have any discretion in that regard. That is what that resettlement provides for, and then there's specific resettlement assistance that's then provided and covered by the policy. So it is the moving of the goods, you know, temporary accommodation for a short while the people are moving into where they will be staying. And other associated resettlement cost has covered by the policy. Yeah, maybe Tupelo come in on the cost of employment and the resettlement first, and then I'll ask Karen to come in on the climate change question, the 311,000 matter that was raised by member Maran, and maybe Tupelo, yeah, the 1.7 million, the question asked by Member America, you can also respond to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Musome. But I think we're still seeing your screen. If you
Yeah, I've cancelled it, Chair.
You've just cancelled it. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, HOD. Chair, just to deal with the question of compensation of employee, on page 223, the negative, the minus 1591 compensation of employee that relates in particular to Program 1, administration. So under environment, we took 1591. You will see when you go to the next page, 224, under Program 2, under environments, we took 67,000. Under page 225, Program 3, under environments, we added 375. So, Chairperson, the environments is basically what the minuses that we made to be able to fund programs that needed the budget. So, under environments, if you go to page 226, under program environmental quality management, you will see there that compensation of employee, we funded 1672. So those are internal shifts that we were able to put through. Under other adjustments, if you go to page 222 again, you will, sorry, Chair, if you go to page 223, you will see that under other environments, there's nothing there for Program 1. If you go to page 224, under other environments, you'll see there's 276. Page 225, under environments, you'll see 1678. So the other, it's part of the 2.7 million that was allocated additionally. So we funded a cost of employment 4.4 million, which is a combination of 2.7 plus the 1.7 savings that is reflected under environments and shift, Chairperson. So that is the question to the compensation of employees. In terms of resettlement cost, Chairperson, obviously as during our recruitment processes, we would advertise nationally, especially for senior management positions. So where we appoint someone outside the province, then they would also then apply in terms of the provincial resettlement policy to be brought to the province. It's slightly higher than the previous year. My resettlement was paid for in the previous year, but was minimum. This year we recruited more members, and that is why the cost of 204, in addition to as compared to the previous year, Chairperson. So that is the answer to the two questions. Thank you.
Very much, and over to you, Ms. Shippey.
Thank you, Karen. If you can come in on the climate change question, as asked by Member Maran, the 311,000. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the question. So I think what we decided as a department, which is quite hard, as you say, it's very difficult to move money away from a program which is critically required. But what we have done with the adjustments is to recognize what we're legally obliged to do and to move money into those spaces in the department where there are requirements such as taking monitoring of air quality, monitoring of water quality, etc., which is already in our existing laws. Climate change, while we're coordinating, and remember our core focus is to make sure that every part of Western Cape government and the local governments actually start taking climate change into account and mainstreaming. We didn't want to give up money, but recognizing that we have the existing focus on mandates, which we already have. The climate change bill has not yet been passed by Parliament, so it would be something that we would have to ask for additional funds for when that act comes in from a legal perspective, obliging certain mandates for the department. But at the moment, we're very much trying to attract external funding from donors to assist us with our climate change program. So yes, I think it's been, kind of the worst of all cuts at this stage is that we're cutting critical programs to fund mandated obliged programs, and we're going to have to get new money for any new acts that come in. I hope that explains it.
Chairperson, if I may briefly add, it's similar to the cost of employment that Tapelo CFO was responding to. We're having to balance our books in terms of the department. So, we have vacancies everywhere that are critical, but we are trying to balance the books, and therefore we have the variance where we're shifting the budget from the one program to a next in order to make sure that we cover what we need to. And with the climate change, we did specifically work with the Provincial Treasury to, in terms of Budget Circular 2, include the climate change considerations in terms of the budgeting for all departments, our own department included. And therefore, it is something specifically that we're looking at in terms of the budget ask moving forward. And a critical thing would be what Karen refers to as the budget tagging, where one will be more explicit in terms of the budget, the climate change budgeting, so that at the moment we've got programs, water programs and other programs that are also delivering against the climate change work, but we maybe haven't tagged it as such, in the past. So how do we, with Treasury, make sure that we fund all the climate change programs that we need to fund, and that we properly tag it, so that when we need to account for all the climate change programs and funding that's happened, that we can properly do that. But as Karen said, it's a critical area of work, and therefore all the budget that we can put towards the climate change work, the better. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gerber. Honourable members, I don't see any further hands. Ms. Niekerk, you've previously indicated to me privately that there has been no response to our invitation for the public to make input. Any change in that position?
No, Chairperson, that position still stands.
Good. I do see the hand of Honourable Maran.
Thanks. No, I thought you will allow follow-ups.
You are welcome. I didn't see your hand earlier, but please use.
No, we have dealt with the officials have dealt with the responses, and I then thought after that, Chair, you would ask whether there's any follow-ups, of which we have not done so. But thanks, Chair. Look, Chair, on the responses, Chair, I'm satisfied with the issue of the on 2.7, the resettlement, and also it was explained basically more or less at what level that will happen as we advertise nationally. Chair, also the issue of compensation of employment costs, and it's a combination of the 4.7, I think, the 2.7 and then the 1.7, and some of the responses, but it's a bit strange for me, Chair, especially when we are saying that we have channeled money to to issues that's legally obliged, but at the same time we are saying we are also waiting for the new Climate Change Act. Now, Chair, we have budgeted. The original budget was there was an amount of. Part of that was the amount of 311,000 rand that was budgeted for climate change. Now, if we are saying there's a new law that's coming, are we saying there is no current law? Or are they busy amending the current law? Against what then have we budgeted money for climate change if we are saying basically we are waiting for a new law, Chair? I just wanted to check that because the response for me is a bit problematic. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anybody that can assist Honourable Maran in understanding the issue?
I'll give an initial first response, and Karen, if you then want to come in on that. So obviously, when we do the annual report for the year ahead and we do the budgeting, there's specific programs and projects that's planned, and specific budgeting that follows that, and the procurement planning that follows. And then we have, as we've had on other projects, that there are either non-responses to our calls for proposals, for bids for specific work, or there might be, whether it's delays in the recruitment processes or other matters that then result in us not being able to incur the expenditure as planned, and then has allowed for within the 8%. We then do the variance in terms of the adjustments across the budget to balance the books, and then we would shift it, as Karen said, where there are specific programs where the expenditure can be incurred, or where there's a shortfall, or specifically focused on the things that can have impact for the citizen. Karen, I don't know whether you want to add to that.
Thank you very much. So just in terms of clarity of what mandate we currently have for climate change, it is a strategic and policy mandate, and it's a mandate that relates to the international agreements that National Department of Environmental Affairs, Fisheries and Forestry has undertaken on our behalf as South Africa. So no, there is not a Climate Change Act in place at the moment. There are various supporting acts such as NAMAQA, which is specifically focused on air quality and does deal with greenhouse gases, but climate change itself does not have an act. That bill has actually been in process for about 6 years. So, and we've been told almost every year that it's about to be formally accepted. It's been delayed for various reasons, including things like the COVID pandemic. But we understand that it is now with the Portfolio Committee and that it is actually awaiting completion. So no, there is no Climate Act at the moment. And our climate change mandate has been based on the strategy and policies both of South Africa as well as of the Western Cape. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Chairperson, if I can just briefly add, we've been hard at it to work with others in the province and other partners in terms of the growth for jobs strategy that's under development, the review of the Western Cape infrastructure framework, and in particular, the critical consideration of climate change and water resilience as part of that work, and then at the same time working with Treasury. So once we have the new strategy and the climate change implications, both risk and opportunities that flow from that we can then also see the responsiveness to that in the budget allocation, in the budgeting, by all the departments, our own department included. So this is work that is currently underway because this is a critical area in terms of making sure that although there are different roles by different role players, that we have the strategy that clearly sets out the roles and responsibilities, and that we can then also budget accordingly. Even though we know it's not as if we will have that there's lots of additional budget available, but we at least want to make sure moving forward that there's a clear strategy, that the budgeting is tagged so that one can clearly track what's allocated to climate change and other priority areas, and that we can then make sure that those projects and programs are implemented accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gerber. And can I accept that as your closing remarks?
Yes, thank you, Chairperson. Just to thank the committee for the opportunity to address you today, and thank you to the Minister, thank you to the team. Minister, over to you.
Thank you, Honourable Chair, and to the committee. This adjustment budget reflects a department that is under severe financial pressure, as you can see, but it still manages to produce and to deliver on its mandate. So we're very fortunate. So I want to thank the HOD and his team for a job well done. Thank you, Honourable Chair. Thank you very much. And just before I announce that you are free to leave this meeting, for the committee to remain behind with its deliberations and the consideration of the report, I think I speak on behalf of everybody, not only in this committee, but also in the Parliament of the Western Cape, to thank you all for your hard work over the last number of months, 11 months in this calendar year. I trust that there will be some form of rest for many of you in the festive season, and we're looking forward to seeing you in the new year, if nothing untoward happens in the meantime. Thank you very much, and keep up your good work. Thank you very much. You are free to leave this meeting. Honourable members, over to you now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Chair. Bye.
You've been served with the adjustments, the figures. You have been served with the responses to certain questions that we have had regarding the adjustments that the officials felt were needed. And now it's for us to consider that. And I do recognize first the hand of the Honourable America, then Honourable Maran.
Chairperson, thank you. Having listened to the responses to the department, I hereby wish to move that we support the adjustment budget. The vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Over to you, Honourable Maran.
Thanks, Chair. Chair, I think it's important to note the response in terms of my follow-up question, the issue of climate change and no act that currently exists, basically, and that's basically the reason why basically we have shifted that money. Chair, for me, Chair, with the main budget, they have basically budgeted money for climate change. And it was against the strategy and policies that was in place at that stage. And those strategies and policies are still there. So the officials can't come now and say basically, but there is no act. They have budgeted money at the beginning of this financial year, Chair. So just in terms of, and also the other one in terms of the COEs, the response was other programs that needs funding, as if those programs where money is taken from don't needs money. That basically comes to that. So in terms of whether to support or not to support, Chair, remember in a previous meeting in the senior procedural officer, we basically said that to abstain is not a view, to postpone your view until the matter appears in the House is not a view, and therefore those ones cannot be basically captured in the committee report in terms of Rule 90 as the standing rules. And at that stage, Chair, I'm saying I cannot support this budget, and then to be captured in the report in terms of Rule 90 of the standing rules. Thanks.
Thank you. I've got one vote in favour, one vote against. Honourable Mbari.
Thank you, Chair. I would second in favour.
Thank you very much. Any further views? None. It seems then to me as if the majority of this committee support the adjustments, and if you could just give the procedural officer, Ms. Niekerk, a minute to flight her report. I trust he's been typing away, having listened to the debate, and we find it on our screens. And I'm just going to read this into the record. A report of the Standing Committee on Agriculture, Environmental Affairs and Development Planning on vote 9, Environmental Affairs and Development Planning, in the schedule to the Western Cape Adjustments Appropriation Bill, B3 of 2022, dated the 28th of November 2022 as follows. The Standing Committee on Agriculture, Environmental Affairs and Development Planning, having deliberated on the subject of vote 9, Environmental Affairs and Development Planning, in the schedule to the Western Cape Adjustments Appropriation Bill, B3 of 2022, referred to it in accordance with Standing Rule 188, reports that it supports the vote. Next paragraph, in accordance with Standing Rule 90, the African National Congress expressed its minority view that it does not support the vote. Honourable members, this report is now open for consideration. Honourable American.
Chairperson, I move that we adopt the report. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I have no problem to
support the report.
The report just captures basically the meeting that we had.
Yes. The outcome of this meeting. Thank you very much, Honourable Maran. So this report has now been adopted unanimously by this committee. This report will obviously now be sent through, and it will also be submitted to the Budget Committee, which I believe is going to meet tomorrow. So from my side, I want to say thank you very much for that. Honourable members, may I just remind you that we are meeting again at 2 o'clock, then on the Department of Agriculture's vote. And can I also just ask, Ms. Niekerk has sent through earlier today a set of minutes which she would love us to consider and adopt while it's still fresh in our minds. So if it's possible.
Chairperson, you frozen.
Chair.
Chair.
Sorry.
Oh, there we go.
First,
We
Honourable
have missed
America,
you.
then
We have missed you, Chair, for 30 seconds.
Okay, my apologies. I don't know what happened then to the line. You've been served with a set of minutes for our meeting of last week, and Ms. Niekerk would appreciate it if you could go through that, and if we could add that under general in the next meeting starting at 2 o'clock for consideration and possible adoption of those minutes as well. So if you could find the time to just quickly read through it over lunchtime, it would be much appreciated. Any further remarks from your side, honourable members? Thank you. We will see each other then at 2 o'clock. Thank you very much, and thank you also to the support staff. Have a great lunch.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Chairperson.
Chairperson.
Norms, you're going to end this thing? Are you going to stop it?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to stop the recording.
Thank you.
Candice, are you here? Hi, Candice. Candice. Candice.